Moving on, I have sanded the neck. I've also made sure the neck is dead straight by going across with a notched straight edge. Altered the truss rod just a tiny tweak. The truss rod adjuster on these is an Allen key type adjuster. Well, Allen key type is an Allen key adjuster. It is a 3/16 of an inch Allen key, just in case you need to know that. I've got my neck dead straight, blah 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 blah. And with it being now dead straight, I can re-radius the fingerboard. Not that it needs re-radiusing that much, just a little bit out here and there. It is not a perfectly straight neck either. It does have a tiny bit of up and down. Only a tiny bit. We are talking 20th of a millimetre, you know, 5,000th of an inch or whatever, not a lot. But I'm going to show, I've sanded the fingerboard, and now we get an idea of the amount of chipping on there, which you will, hopefully, if I hold that to the light, you might be able to see some of the chipping. There's not a great deal. There. It is in really fine fettle. I've smoothed it off. I've just sanded that with 240 grit paper, just to smooth it all off, just to get rid of all these bobbles that were left after removing the frets. It is super smooth. I am still going to very slightly re-radius this whole board. Regarding chip out, I can now clearly see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. I've got 28 chipped areas here. Let's say about 30 very small chipped areas I need to fill. That really is nothing you could normally expect. I got most of the chip out down this end. There's some little tiny bits. Some here I might not even have to touch. I mean, I'm talking like this one here next to my finger. I've counted that one. There's nothing there, and a fret is going to cover that. I just like to be a little bit picky. I like to fill a little bit more. Also, where there are these slight indentations in the fingerboard, I will fill them as well. So we're looking at about 30 there. What's that, 150 minutes? What's that in hours? 2.5 hours. About two and a half hours work extra there. Really is not that bad. Once that's done, I can re-radius the whole board. I'm going to show now on camera how I set up my radius beam for re-radiusing the whole board. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you from start to finish. I'm going to move the camera again. I'm going to include this in the final video. And we'll just stick that there out of the way. Stick that there out of the way. Well, I'll just make sure I have enough room to work the tools I'm using. Well, that's the line is now cooled down. That's fantastic. That can go there. They can go away. That can go away. Brilliant stuff. So, I'm going to move the neck out of the way. We can stick that over on this fretting bench over there, which you will definitely see in the next day or so, because that's where we're going to be putting the frets in. This is my cleaning gear, by the way. I used to use white spirit. I don't anymore. I use Zippo light fluid. I've just wiped the fingerboard down with that, because one thing it does, it evaporates. It also dries out the fingerboard, removes any grease or anything on there, makes it much easier to sand. I love this stuff. I buy this in bulk. I buy about 4 tins at a time. It cost me under £10 for 4 tins of this delivered. It's brilliant stuff. It's a great cleaner as well. Well, it's basically naphtha, and in America we can get naphtha, but over here we can't get naphtha on its own. But basically Zippo lighter fluid is basically naphtha, same kind of stuff. So anyway, let's move on to how I set up a radius box. So let me get the camera set up. I'll get the camera down here and I will show you how I set up a leveling beam or a radiusing beam. So, fret friends, how I set up a leveling beam or a radiusing beam or radius block for either sanding and radiusing a neck or for leveling frets. I don't often use these leveling frets, I normally use a flat beam anyway, but here we have a 9.5 inch radius sanding beam or leveling beam. This being the 9.5 inch radius, imagine that a 9.5 inch circle, blah 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 blah, that is the radius. It's going to match the fingerboard of the guitar I am prepping for a refret. This being the neck, it's a Fender Jazz Precision bass. It's actually a deluxe one. I'm going to re-radius the whole fingerboard to 9.5 to this, to there. But what I need to do is affix some sandpaper to this. And now I'm going to do that is, I'm going to show my way of doing it. And first and foremost, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some Zippo lighter fluid. Basically, this is naphtha. In America, you use naphtha for cleaning guitars and stuff. Over in England, you can't really get naphtha. But the closest thing you can get to it is Zippo lighter fluid, which basically is naphtha. And all I'm going to do is spread some on there, get me a nice lint-free cloth, and we're just going to clean the surface, remove any sticky residue that may have been left over from the last time I had anything on here. And what we're going to do is, we've got some double-sided sticky tape, 2 thicknesses, and we're going to cover this in double-sided sticky tape. But if we did that, when we come to peeling off the paper again, that double-sided sticky tape is going to leave horrible residue all over there, and it's really, really difficult to remove. So what I do is, before I go with the double-sided sticky tape, I cover this whole surface with masking tape. The masking tape bent over, then the double-sided sticky tape, then the sandpaper. And when we come to peel off the sandpaper later on, peeling off the masking tape, trust me, is a lot easier to peel off than double-sided sticky tape. Double-sided sticky tape are leaving residue everywhere. So I'm going to show you how I set that up in a moment. Just got to nip out of the room for a second, so stay where you are. So I'm back, just going to remove the jacket and we can crack on. So what I will do first is I will take a strip of masking tape and just place it across the end here, because this is going to make it easier to remove when we take the sandpaper off the next time, ready for prepping again for another fret job. So all I do is both ends, just put a bit across the end there, and then we are going to tape up this radiusing beam. Now what we need to do is make sure we get absolutely no overlap, because if we overlap we're not going to keep that radius. Now first we make sure that's smooth. I don't know what that is there, there's a little burr on there, cracker. And there's something on there as well. Just go across with a little bit of white spirit just to dissolve anything that's on there. It doesn't need to be there. Could be some glue residue or something. Just a little bit of white spirit. Problem now is the tape may not stick to this, and I've got white spirit on there. We'll soon find out, won't we? There you go. Very good. So we'll take a strip of masking tape, make sure it's long enough. I'm going to go slightly just over the edge. Fold over. You can see where we're going with this now, can't you? No overlap. Rather go under and over. To make sure we're inside. Got no overlap. And there you go. And that is absolutely beautiful. Just a little bit far away there. I would have thought there. Very good. Now, in the past, I've double layered this. And I could do that now, because what that does is, that will give us an overlap area. And there's a great reason for having that overlap area. If there's any gaps in here, we're not going to get double-sided sticky tape on the surface of the beam, so I'm actually going to do that. And this is actually a little bit easier because all we've got to do is straight down the middle. And we're overlapping that section. And again. And now you see why I have two different widths of masking tape. I've got a little bit of an overlap there, I'm going to sort that out in a second. But you see where this is going now. And this is going to give us a perfect radius. Now you might be thinking, all right, well, hang on a minute. Hang on, my son, you've got this area here, and this is why we have the thinner tape, not the less wide tape. So right, same thickness. It's all one brand Super Deck tape. It's not expensive, but it's low tack and it's fantastic. I've been using this since I discovered this stuff. I've always used it. And with this, it's just take your time, get it right. That'd be beautiful. And a lot of my job is all about preparation and planning. When you're doing something as intricate and something as important as a refret or a fret level, you've really got to plan ahead. You've got to do everything absolutely right. It is not my job, it's not difficult at all. It's fantastic. It's just that you have to have a set of standards and you have to stick to them. And they have to be high standards. But anyway, here we go. We're just about got this ready for the double-sided tape. I'm going to prep this and then I'm going to walk the dog. Again, now when you get to this one here, you don't want a double corner like I've got there. And what I normally would do is I'd take this part and I'd rip off, same as here. I just rip off, and all I'm going to do then, I've only got one fold to make, and that's down this edge. I didn't do it that side, I forgot all about it, and now I'm going to attack that with a scissor. But this here then becomes a fold over just one way, and that's great, that makes it a lot neater. I'm just going to take a scissor to these corners here, just to tidy up a little, and then we are ready for the double-sided tape. Taking the scissors nice because it tidies things up, it stops us catching anything when we're sanding, blah blah blah. Yeah, no great shakes. You can always resort to the scissor if we need to. So there you go. That is now my surface for the double-sided sticky tape. Now with the double-sided sticky tape, I don't have to go right to the edge, I can come in a little. This is why I have two thicknesses again. And again, same scenario. Double-sided tape, just a millimetre inside there. Should be enough. Fantastic. All we're going to do is snip there. I take this one. Just give myself a marker. And again, just come a millimetre inside here. Also, that's fantastic. I've got that folded over there. Again, I like to fold over and stick it down. Beautiful. You can see where we're going with this now. And I have. Oh, that piece will be fantastic. And this is a much better surface to stick sandpaper to. But also, when it comes to removing the sandpaper, we're peeling off masking tape, not double-sided sticky tape, so there's going to be no residue, no mess. And that, my friends, is how we set up the beam to receive a good piece of sandpaper Now, so some more of this and have a lot left. So what I'm going to do here is to basically slightly overcut this. And we have, there you go, we're 2" over. That's fantastic. You'll see how this is going to work. When we get to fix this, we're going to fix it. Blah blah blah. We'll get it all on there with the overlap. We'll cut the excess off with a Stanley knife. So what we need to do next is we need to remove the covering on there. And I will take something like a Stanley blade. This is probably not going to be sharp enough, but what I want to do is just cut an edge there. And there you go. Do the same with this one, right on the edge if I can. Because we need this whole surface to be flat. And again, here, we're just scoring in, just so we can remove the edge. And again, we're just going to lift this edge. That's fantastic. And there we go. That's brilliant. We now have a surface to stick the sandpaper to. Get rid of that rubbish there. Put the blade away. And now with the sandpaper cut to width on the bench, a little bit longer than we need, we are just going to affix that to the beam. Make sure we overlap both ends. And there you go. And we now have a radius block with 240 grit sandpaper on there. And what I do is a couple of rips, fold the centre, fold the edges, same this end, press down in the centre, fold over, fold over, fold over. We now have a 240 grit sanding block. Dicky on there, we'll get that off. There you go, sorted. That is how I set up a radius block for sanding. And this will peel off really, really easy because we've got the masking tape stuck to the surface, not the double-sided sticky tape. I'm now going to take this and I'm going to re-radius a Fender Precision bass. So re-radiusing the fingerboard, I've taken the old nut that I cut down the centre to remove, and I didn't need to. Once I cut this glue from this side, all I needed to do was knock it. So I'm going to put that back in as a stopper, because this part of the fingerboard, or this end of the fingerboard, is lacquered. This isn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that in as a stopper, and that is going to stop the beam shooting over and removing all that lacquer. I'm just going to basically re-radius the whole board. And by rights, I should just go in one direction. I don't want the people, the neck police shouting at me on the internet, do I? And all I'm going to do is smooth the fingerboard. And I can go just a couple of times. This is beautiful. And I'm going to go the opposite way. And I'm going to eyeball it. Looks very, very nice. Nice little check with, but not a straight edge. And we are straight. That's beautiful. One on the way, just to check. We will take a 9.5 inch radius gauge. Wide one, we've got 9.5 on there. No, narrow, narrow, wide. It will be this one. Don't use these very often. They don't come out much. That's beautiful. Beautiful. Look at that. Look at that. That's fantastic. So I think it's pretty much there. I still have quite a few chips to repair. I've not repaired them yet. It's all about getting this nice, removing any scratches. This one I think is actually easy sitting down. What I could do, and what I've done in the past, is I'll take a marker pen and I'll just put some lines. And when we remove all the marker pen, we are where we need to be. And a little tip. Oops. Maybe pencil would have been better, but you know, we're going to remove it all anyway. And once I get close to where I want to be, which is round about now, I'm pleased with that. Again, we check for level. It's probably going to come out more level now than it was before. Beautiful. I also keep this in a straight line when I check the other edges. Beautiful. And again, there we go. I'm happy with that. So what I would do now is I would take some 400 grit. I could do this by hand. Just grab a piece, cut a piece off, smooth it all off. Don't really need to do this now because I've got some slots to fill. Anyway, it's got to be sanded again anyway. But what I'll do is I'll take a piece of 400 grit, should I say. And I will basically just smooth it all off. Obviously got a bit of something on there because it scratched that area. I don't know something like that. Bit of naphtha on there just to clean everything up. And there we are more or less ready for reflecting. All I'm going to do now is fill in these chips areas. Not a lot. I think I said 20 something before because we've sanded some down. Quite a few of them have disappeared, so we'll probably go about 15, 16 to do. We've removed no more than probably 1/10 of a millimetre off the top, probably not even that, off the top of the fingerboard. It's beautiful, smooth. We've kept the radius. Fantastic. So now I'm going to fix the chips, do a final sanding, and I'll come back and show you it ready. Once I've done final sanding, by the way, I'll recut the slots and then we can move on to getting the frets in. I'm just about ready now to start, well I am ready now to start filling these little chipped areas, and I've made some little silicone strips 1/2 millimetre wide, same width as the slots in the fingerboard, and what we'll do with these, I'll slide these in where I need to repair, like so, and that will stop the super glue going into any of the slots. Really nice and simple. I've got some good wood dust here, loads of it. This is a mix of rosewood and alder, stained alder, so it's quite a dark red. It's fantastic stuff. I will just put a drop in there where it needs to be filled, and I will go and blob in a little bit of super thin super glue. So I'm going to crack on with that. I'm not really going to show you that, it's really very straightforward. I have taped all the areas I need to work on with tape, just so I don't get a spread of super glue going all over the fingerboard as I've had before. I will be re-radiusing the fingerboard again anyway, but I just want to make as little mess as possible. So I'm going to crack on with that, and I will come back and show you a little bit of that later on. And here we are, just round about 5 PM, and this neck is now ready for new frets. I've removed the old frets, I've sanded down the fingerboard, I've re-radiused the fingerboard, I've filled in, repaired all the chipped areas, and I have just very, very lightly oiled the fingerboard. That'll be dry by tomorrow. I will radius the frets in the morning. I'm going to radius them as close to 9.5 inch radius as I can, probably just a little bit tighter. If I get them to around about an 8.5 inch radius, anything between 8 and 8.5 inches, just so they're slightly over radius. Don't want them too over radius because they can then pop out in the middle. But I want to get them really pretty close to what they need to be, and we will pop the frets in tomorrow. The frets, I am going to glue them in. I say I'm going to glue them in, I'm not going to glue them in as such. I'm going to use a bead of Titebond Original in the fret slots. What that is going to do is it's not going to glue the frets in per se, it is going to basically fill the gaps between the tang and the depth of the slots. Now the slots aren't overly deep, they are normal, but any gap in there, I don't want a gap in there, I want that gap to fill in. So I'm going to use, I will tape up the edges of the neck with masking tape, and I will just fill these slots, not even just, I'll fill these slots with some Titebond, and we'll press the frets in, and any squeeze out, any excess glue in there, it'll squeeze out. It just means there will be no gap between the fret and the wood, it will be filled in, it will just resonate better. So, really got a bit more oil on there than I need, but I'm not too bothered about that. I'd like a bit of oil in there anyway, just to soften my wood up overnight. I will flare open ever so slightly these fret slots by just gliding across basically with a triangle file. I could even go with this one, really small one. What that will do is, I'll just show you where I'm going to go with it. Just basically open these up ever so slightly, just to open it up for accepting the new fret. Not going to cause any great hardship in there just by doing that. It's going to be just basically a stroke down that line, like so, blah blah blah, and I will do that in a bit off camera, ever so slightly. So stay tuned. Back